Have Vancouver buyers become too picky, not wanting to leave their new 5-year-old, perhaps condo or apartment to buy a 30 or 40-year-old detached home? Yeah, that's happening in the Vancouver market. All this and more right after this. All right, my friends, back from a little summer break. Here's our good friend Roland Kim. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for letting me go camping.
Yeah, well, that's good. You got it. I love it. So, are you a glamper or a camper?
Well, we have four kids under 10, and so it's they haven't done. We fell into a camper van during COVID, and so we're now we sold that, and we're just into renting the camper van at like one or two locations and getting it set up. And it's really easy and simple just to rock up, and the cost is actually a lot better. So I can't believe that we're glamping compared to what I grew up in.
I know. I remember the first time we took a one of those pop-up trailers as when we had a little, our baby. I think at the time we had three kids. Now I'm like, this is so much better than sleeping on the ground and
Yeah,
getting wet and everything else. That's all good. You had good weather when you're away.
yeah, it was perfect. Yeah, it wasn't
Excellent.
too hot. Yeah,
Excellent. I
cool
love
air.
it. Glamping's where it's at. That is the new camping for sure. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different things today, but more importantly, this is the Vancouver real estate market update, and it's July 26th today. What's going on in your market? I know there's some different news stuff coming out, but what's going on in the streets today in Vancouver?
Yeah. So from activity level, like we're pretty darn steady. I'm impressed how the market has absorbed the last two rate increases and kind of all mixing together the people on vacation and some people who have removed themselves from the market. It's still pretty darn stable. We're probably 30% higher in volume than last July.
Is that right?
But yeah, but keep in mind, the market kind of tipped over last June, and the second half of last year was pretty slow. But I think we're the second slowest July in the last 6 years. Last year being the slowest, so kind of sideways, steady market. What I'm definitely noticing is on like certain entry points that buyers are getting priced out a bit, just with the price competition and the realities of the interest rates. And so, that could be like starting at a first time buyer for a condo where they might have saved a certain amount of money and made the calculations. And now when 4 or 5 months later, the numbers aren't the same anymore. Or where I'm really noticing it is where the people are stepping up, perhaps from a 2-bedroom condo to a townhouse or a house. It was tight before, and now sometimes the numbers no longer make sense.
Right.
So that is, that's a sad reality, but something that's out there where people have been with interest rates just priced out of their capacity. And then also really interesting, getting back to kind of that motto that real estate is local. And so what I mean is like, each category of product is individual. And so for many years, everything kind of got lifted at the same level, like the tide lifts all boats. And that's no longer the case. There's certain boats, so to speak, that have an anchor really tight and they're being pulled down. What I mean by that would be like the loft market for many, many years in Vancouver was very desirable and active. And now I'm seeing lofts starting to sell, 10, 15% lower than they had previously. And that's a great example. I think that price for that category has gone up so much over the last decade that the person, at that price point, the person looking is looking for more bedrooms, more home perhaps. And so we're definitely seeing separation of inventory and pricing completely tied back to who's buying it and why it's being bought.
Interesting.
So that's interesting.
So in some of those segments, let's say whether it's the loft or that 1 or 2 bedroom condo into a townhouse into a single family home, that's kind of the trajectory. Not always, but kind of.
Yeah.
So you're seeing some of those gaps increase and decrease in different areas of Vancouver there, or to explain that a little bit there.
Yeah. So a great point that you make there is like, the townhouse market a decade ago was viewed as like a transfer home.
Hmm.
Like you either bought it for a rental or you lived in it, because you were saving up to buy a detached. And now, and so for a long time, apartments, three. Well, we don't have a lot of 3-bedroom apartments, but 2-bedroom apartments weren't proportionally priced a lot lower than like a 3-bedroom townhouse. And yet now the 3-bedroom townhouse it continues to escalate in value and price, because one, the step up from there to a detached is typically quite large, and two, there's a whole clientele now that has lived in brand new 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and so they look at a new townhouse or a new duplex, and even if they could afford the detached, we don't have new detached houses that hit the market on spec in Vancouver. Like all
Interesting.
detached is pretty much built custom, and so the townhouse market and the half duplex market, I think, is the future family home, and we're really starting to see that price really stabilize, and even to the point where some duplexes that are new are getting the price of an old house that's got twice the lot right beside it. And and so that segment is really solidifying as its own kind of family home segment.
Is that right? And I was going to ask you, but you kind of answered my question along the way here, but I'll ask it anyways, just so we can get some clarity on it. Is uh, are you seeing that apartment owner skip, say, that townhouse and go to a duplex or even a single family home, or that's just typically not attainable for them at this time?
Yeah, not skip it. I'd say I'm seeing more people who thought they were going to transition from the townhouse into a detached down the road, who now say, you know what, one, I might not be able to afford the detached, or if
Mhm.
I can, the detached quality and product is not desirable for me. And a great example of that would be, like, I had this couple that I worked with about a decade ago in East Vancouver. We were looking for houses, and I don't know, I'm going to say the market was like 600 for a house then, and a good part of Vancouver. And there was this one house that it was all bumpy on the outside. It was green, like you always remember this house, and we missed out on it. We were number two, and it was kind of the last house where they had offered, and they just got tired of losing out on detached, so we refocused on townhouses. And then we bought a townhouse probably about 9 years later, last year. Their development got totally redone, and then that area just escalated in value. And I kind of crunched some numbers because that greenhouse came back on the market, and I said, hey folks, I literally think that maybe another 100,000, maybe not even, you can sell your townhouse, get a put a person into the 2-bedroom suite downstairs, and you could do a transitional move into a detached, and that would have made them so happy a decade ago.
Right.
And their response was, like, that house is too old for us. Like, if you can find us a newer house, we're interested. And you're like, well, a newer house is going to be 800 grand more. Like, it does, like, so it's very interesting where, and I'd say they're just regular folks and they're outdoorsy. It's not like they're hoity-toity or anything, but I believe, that market of folks who have enjoyed quality and a finished product, it's not automatic that they want to take a step down, even if they get a yard and more bedrooms. Like, because that townhouse duplex market, it appears to be really fulfilling for a lot of
Yeah.
people who want community.
So that's interesting, and it's probably a good thing for sellers to know that, in a sense that what I'm hearing is people are willing to give up maybe a larger house or a yard because they're more fulfilled in a sense of that newness, right?
Yes.
This is a brand new home or relatively brand new as opposed to 30, 40, 50 years old or more, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and I'm seeing more as well. You used to have a lot of clients buy older houses, and when you're going through the due diligence, you'd be discussing all the things that you could do to upgrade the home and all the improvements and renovations. And most people, might do the basic ones, flooring and painting, but not the substantial ones. But they were very, very happy living in that house. And 20 years later, the kids grew up, and they're still living in an old home, and they're now the third or fourth family doing it. They had new paint, new floors, but they were happy. I find now a lot of buyers who are moving into those houses will not move unless they do the work. Like they do want the finished product in a medium amount of time to short amount of time, if not already turnkey.
Right. So they're expecting that work to already be completed, right?
Or have the resources and a plan
Yeah.
to actually do it, versus just wishful thinking where you're a buyer doing the due diligence at the buying process, whimsically talking about all the things that you're going to do to improve the home, but you never actually do it, and you're completely content and happy. 2 decades later, you sell it to someone else, where now, if that work didn't get done, that buyer would likely not be happy in that home.
Right. Good stuff. That's interesting. That's good. And I think it's always important. You might be thinking to yourself, well, why is this important if I'm a seller or a buyer? If you don't know who you're selling to, you can't sell a product. It's as easy as that, right? And if you don't know who you're buying from, how are you going to buy from them in a sense, right? So that's good insight, Roland. Okay, we should probably talk a little bit about what's been going on in Vancouver and perhaps some of the proposed changes to zoning and things like that. And I know here in Toronto, we just went through something similar where the city of Toronto is now allowing up to 4 units, and in some cases 5 units on every single lot in the city of Toronto. And I know in Vancouver, there's been some discussion around that as well. Enlighten us a little bit from what you know and what you can kind of share with us.
Yeah, I definitely have. We've been talking about a while now that they might change, that you could put 6 stratified homes on one standard lot. And I think that'll help a little bit, and will be a reality. The challenges are restrictions haven't loosened, and so on a 4,000 square foot lot, which is kind of our typical lot, what you're going to be left up with is at best 6 2-bedroom condos, but some of them might even be like 1 in den to get within the square footage. Because the big thing that you guys do much better in most parts of North America is you don't have these incredibly dumb setbacks that we have on all our lots. Like if you walked around a Vancouver house, there's not one side that runs to the property line. Like there's a setback on every single side, and so it looks kind of cute because there's like an air partition around every home, but it's highly inefficient, right? And so I guess in some ways that zoning could help bring more rental, like freehold product that will be rental. But really what we're missing is 3-bedroom product, right? It's that townhouse. And so we're addressing some things, but at a glacial pace. And so I think, again, that is why I'm so bullish on Vancouver real estate being a blue chip product that's kind of like, it's a mature Microsoft stock, but you might not have blowout quarters, but you're never gonna really pull back in value, because we simply have never figured out how to build properly, and we keep building less than we need.
Yeah.
And so, we come up with some creative thoughts, but not everyone's at the table. So there's always, like in this case, zoning and buildable square footage that hasn't been addressed proportionally to really make the kind of product that Vancouver needs.
Yeah, that's interesting too. And you mentioned a point earlier with, Vancouver has not built a lot of single family homes in recent times. It's all been, the condos or the duplexes and apartments and so forth, townhouses. Where here in Toronto, although we are landlocked to the south because we do have a lake that we butt up against, there's still a tremendous amount of land, and the majority of the homes that get built outside of the downtown core, of course, all 2,500 to 3,000 square foot, $1.5 million to $2 million worth of value of homes, and we have, if we have 1, we have 10. If we have 10, we have 100 that they're building. Where I think somehow Vancouver and Toronto got to meet in the middle. We got to stop building the 3,000 square foot homes where 2 or 3 people live in, right?
Yes.
And start building maybe more of those townhouses and so forth that you guys have, and maybe you need some more of the detached. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, like if we go into, the suburbs of Surrey or Langley, I certainly see them doing a better job. They have a lot more those kind of spec houses, and even the kind of the smaller, the freestanding duplexes or row houses
Yeah.
that are around 2,000 square feet that are quite functional. But in Vancouver proper, yeah, like I haven't seen spec houses. I haven't seen three houses side by side detached in well over a decade available for sale from a builder in Vancouver proper. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So if there's a builder out there, you would highly recommend or look at building 3-unit dwellings, or not 3-unit, 3-bedroom unit dwellings in some way, some shape or form. Is that it?
Yes, but easier said than done. But yes,
Yeah.
that is definitely the, and I'm guessing probably with that zoning change, instead of builders will put maybe 4 3-bedroom units somehow on a lot versus and it's stratified and titled and can be sold individually versus 6 smaller ones, and that is an improvement. But again, it's interesting. I had a conversation with a federal politician, and so much of it is, it was summed up in a statement where 90% of the complaints go, to the MLA, but 90% of the decisions are made locally, and so that disconnect is a very interesting one.
Yeah.
Where often we don't pay as much attention to our local government when really that is what is in charge of our building schemes and style and speed.
Right, right, right. As we wrap up here, and as we kind of get into that last summer month, August here, what do you think people can expect for your Vancouver market there in August?
Yeah, I think pretty stable. We're seeing a good level of inventory hit the market. I think we remain in a seller's market, but not in a escalating one, and not in a crazy one. And so I'd say it's a pretty balanced seller's market, pretty balanced market for Vancouver. The good stuff, we'll see several people bidding on it, and yet there are nuggets out there that are getting overlooked, and more inventory is hitting the market. And that's what I'm hearing around the office as well when I'm talking with realtors about how does their pipeline look for the second half of the year. And I've never heard as many realtors talk about the handful of listings they have lined up. And so I do think the fall will see substantially more inventory than we have in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, very good. And like our friend in Calgary, Darren Langille, that I do videos with, he owns a brokerage in Calgary of about 75 agents. You the same in Vancouver. You own a brokerage there. So not only are you experiencing this from your clients and business partners, but also the agents that you coach and lead as well. So it's great insight. That's why we like connecting with people like Roland. Remind us how to get a hold of you.
Really easy. My last name is Kim, Kym. Just Google Roland Kim, and you can find my websites and my phone number. And I'd love to field any phone calls that I can help with.
Excellent. So there you have it, my friends. That's Roland all the way from Vancouver. Of course, I'm Gary, and we'll see everybody on the next video. Goodbye for now.